So we'll call the meeting to order at 5:33. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access Channel. The town of Lunenburg, in response to the COVID-19, is currently following the guidance from the Lunenburg Board of Health, Mass Department of Public Health, and the CDC regarding the virus, and steps communities can take to prevent the spread, and all town facilities that open during limited hours in accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. All public meetings are being conducted remotely. This meeting will be recorded and will be available to be found on Lunenburg Public Access YouTube channel within 24 hours after the meeting. So we'll do a roll call of everyone who's here. The order that I see you: Tom Alonso. No.
Tom's frozen.
You're
Oh, there he
frozen.
is.
All right. Dave Passios,
Here.
Wendy Bertrand,
Here.
and I am here myself, and we also have Heather Lemieux, the town manager. So I guess as we get started, do we have any public comment from the committee? I'm sorry, Dave, I saw your email about adding an agenda item late, and I didn't get to add it, but David asked that we talk about, or make an agenda item to talk about the kind of the policies around the governor board as far as the kind of thresholds, I assume, for the amount of money that the project would apply to be a capital item. We didn't get that on the agenda, but we can certainly make that a specific topic for our next meeting.
Yeah, as I stated in my response, it's not a big deal that it didn't make it into this meeting. I just want to make sure that we discuss it and thoroughly discuss the policy as to what the threshold is for minimum dollar amount and or some other definition for capital projects.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate. It's been set at the same dollar amount for quite some time, and same dollar amount doesn't mean the same thing anymore.
Right. Thanks.
So we were waiting for a full board to reorganize. I guess we can still hold off till the end of the meeting in case we do have a full complement, unless anyone wants to do it now. No, okay. So did everyone receive the capital planning documents and rating criteria from Heather in your email?
Yes.
Yeah, the spreadsheet was a massive document. Those are so difficult to read unless you have a drive-in theater screen.
Yeah, luckily I have one of those. So.
Yeah.
It is easier than flipping through 5 million different Form Bs, though. So it's still a big help.
Yep.
Definitely.
So, well, would you like to just run through the document, or does anyone have some place in particular they want to start as far as the capital request instructions? I've seen it all before, so.
Honestly, I only got a chance to glance through the first page. I haven't digested the rest of it yet.
Okay.
I've read through, I've read through, not, I can't say I analyzed every word, but I went through most of it, and none of it, everything sounds kind of straightforward. I wouldn't have enough experience to know what we should change anyway until we go through the process once, so.
Right.
Agreed. I feel the same. And reading, the department document, that did seem pretty straightforward. I assumed, I'm assuming there wasn't any feedback from last year that anyone had as far as looking for changes in verbiage or addition of any items. If they felt like
not that came all the way to the committee. Heather,
right.
do you have any feedback from anyone?
Departments, their primary comments were that they like this system better as far as the Google Sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Fill it out. It was much easier to fill everything out versus to shuffle through a bunch of papers.
Okay.
Then no, and I definitely have not gotten through the entire Excel sheet.
Do you want to review any of it together, or let's? What would you guys like to do? Like I said, I'm the only one who's seen this before, so I'm happy to do whatever you guys want to do to get yourselves up to speed and feel comfortable with sending it out to the departments.
So we have nothing coming. Town meeting, special town meeting. I mean, I know we touched on this a little last time. We still aren't sure from a funding perspective, because we had talked about potentially pushing any of the few projects that were not funded in May.
Yep, that is.
Potentially forward for special town meeting, but in our last conversation, our last meeting, it sounded like holding off on that there's still a high level of uncertainty.
There is an article included on the special town meeting warrant to amend the capital plan to include those deferred projects.
So they are going, okay.
The trackless piece of equipment. But
My understanding from the last meeting was that we wanted these criteria so we could review them and have any questions here, but the whole point was that we had a deadline to try to get them out to the departments. Isn't that correct?
Yes, we are hoping to have them sent out by October 1st. So if we needed another meeting to talk about any of this, we have another week, but it'd be ideal to get it out, or less is tonight if we could.
Dave, you're muted.
Yeah, I've had the internet drop out twice also. As the earlier comments were made that, there were no glaring issues with this process last year. I don't see any reason to not approve it tonight, and so it's ready to go.
Yep, I feel the same.
Okay.
Agreed.
If it's simple as that, then we can vote on it. But I think I'll just quickly run through the list in case anybody's is actually trying to follow along at home. So we got our capital request instructions, and it just tells the department how to fill out the Google sheet. The first couple bullets, entering a project number, giving it a department priority, project title, type of asset, be it facilities, vehicle, equipment, or infrastructure, and the fiscal year and the amount requested. Then it goes into kind of the ratings criteria. The different categories are: is it a state, federal, local mandate? The useful life of the asset in years, the age of the existing asset to be replaced, does the purchase increase effectiveness or efficiency? Does it reduce potential liabilities or threats? Does it add or expand customer service? What is the probable effect on operating costs? What are the probable effects on revenues? Is there outstanding grant funding available? And that was one we actually wrestled with last year, and we wanted to be very clear with the, because it's in the scoring criteria, that one has a lot of weight to it. So if there's a grant that expires, it's only a grant available for it this year, we can save a bunch of money. Then it gets, higher priority listing in the scoring schedule, but it has to be, kind of a definite thing available this year. It can't be, we may be able to get a grant for that, so we'll check off that box. It's got to be some degree of certainty and urgency to it to really fit that one. Other items are: does the purchase help economic growth? Does it provide any cultural or recreational opportunities? Any educational benefits, public safety benefits? Aesthetics or historic preservation. Does it add to environmental sustainability? Does it increase public health? And a category for any other comments that the department head wants to put in there. So,
Damon, quick question.
yep.
Number 14, I know it isn't broken down in detail with the description there, but there are different types of grants that can be available for certain projects. Some are matching grants, some are reimbursement grants, those types of things. I think that's something that when we get to that category and categorizing the projects, we ought to have a little bit of discussion about that. And I think Heather would have the best handle on to which type of grant is being mentioned that could be available for a project, because it would have to be funded or reimbursement grant. We'd have to spend our money first before we'd get the money back from the grant, different from a matching grant versus in other types of grants. Just something that I think we should be aware of when we go through the process.
Yeah, definitely something that we should, speak in length about with the department heads when they make their presentation to us. If they're pushing that checkbox, then we got to understand what the implication is.
Right.
So if there's no other question or comments, I guess I'd entertain a motion to approve the capital request instructions and okay, the town manager send them to department heads.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, do a roll call. Tom,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
and I for myself. Okay. So, are there any, besides what we talked about earlier, Dave's request for action items, are there any other action items for next meeting?
Would it be
What is-
appropriate to ask for the status of the present capital projects this early, or should we wait a little bit longer?
Just what's been funded and what's been purchased from last year so far?
Or
Anything that's standing?
any past capital projects, because there's still some on the books from previous fiscal years. I know Karen does a recap of that every once in a while and sends it to department heads. So I don't know if there would be an up-to-date one available within the next couple of weeks or not.
I've asked Karen to update that list and she's working on it.
Okay, great.
So, Mr. Chair, I would just ask what should be expected. So once the department heads get these instructions, what is the time frame they have in which to return them? And when do we pick them up?
Last meeting, we talked about wanting them returned back to us by October 22nd.
Okay, so a month, okay, or 3 weeks.
3 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, and unless we wanted to have a special meeting to talk about the policies, I'm not sure we need another meeting between now and then. Heather can weigh in on that, but I don't think we have any action items between now and then. No?
Well, at some point, I guess we need to have at least 1 or 2 meetings before special town meeting, because I'm sure that they're going to want a vote of this committee on what those remaining things that didn't get funded in the annual, I would imagine, at least.
Heather, do you have any intentions of bringing forward any of those for special town meeting at this point?
The capital projects that were
Yeah,
deferred.
you were talking about it earlier and my internet dropped out, so you may have mentioned it and I missed it, but.
Yes, there's an article on the warrant to amend the plan to include the deferred projects minus the trackless piece of equipment.
Okay. So we'll need to review that and I would assume see if we still support it, whether it matters or not is another thing, but stamping our approval a second time going into town meeting, I think is appropriate.
What's the date on special town meeting?
November 17th.
So when do you think it'd be appropriate to have that discussion?
The vote would probably be, I don't know, I mean, we're in such a unique circumstance.
Mhm.
Where typically the capital plan, the recommended plans in the warrant booklet. So if that were the case, it would have to be by October 15th that this committee, if we're gonna include it. If not, it can be discussed on town meeting floor.
What are usually our our meetings? Until we get to budget season, what, twice a month or once a month at this time of year? Usually.
Twice a month. It's totally been as needed. We haven't, tried to adhere to any special schedule.
I don't know about putting them in the warrant. I don't know if that's necessarily needed or whether we'll be done in time, because that would be, when is the date to go to printing?
The selectmen have, the public hearing for the finance is the 15th. And the selectmen sign off on the following week, I think.
So the 20th or something like that. So, I mean, I don't know that we should shoot for that. We might as well try to have a twofer and wait till the department things to come in, and then at that meeting discuss, because I think we're going to need, it's all going to be, I think, guided by what we hear about the state finances and the economy in general. So that's my own opinion.
Yeah, I mean, are we expecting any more clarity on that before special town meeting?
I personally doubt it.
I don't believe so either. They've provided the Chapter 70 and unrestricted government aid figures, and as well as our assessments. So we have those figures, and they're taking up the budget. They're discussing it with legislative leaders right now. But they're also waiting for any decisions to be made at the federal level, whether stimulus funds can be used to defer off deficits.
I think the decision at town meeting is going to have to be, do we just forge ahead cautiously and keep on track with our projects? And if everything collapses for 2022, then we're going to have to make some very difficult decisions. Or do we do it up front and continue to defer and be in a position to absorb a collapse in 2022? Different from previous months, I'm kind of leaning towards cautiously moving forward, personally.
Yes. So what would also be helpful, but I don't think is going to happen, is hearing what the requests are from the different department heads before we have to make that decision. But it doesn't seem plausible to get 3 weeks worth of meetings in between the 22nd and special town meeting. I'm sure there's 3 physical weeks, but it'd be 3 weeks in a row, no hiccups,
Right.
and then deliberate and make a decision. It's just usually goes all through November doing those at least 3 meetings with department heads.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But those are the new requests. So I think we're talking about the older requests. So.
Yeah, but my previous comments were about the old requests.
Right.
Yeah, I know, but just to add more clarity from what we have to expect in the future, to pair that against what we have from the past that we didn't fund. But,
Right.
Uh,
Well, as we've stated, other people have stated before, and of course this influences the discussion at least somewhat, is regardless of the financial situation, the things that the town needs as far as equipment and usage remain fairly constant.
Yep. All right. So do do we want to do a special meeting just to talk about the policies and our recommendation for special town meeting, or just want to pair that up with, make a longer meeting out of a department head meeting?
I personally would like to do the first two you mentioned in a separate meeting. Try not to get marathon meetings going here already before we, get into the heart of budget season.
I have no
Yeah,
strong feelings one way or the other.
Yeah, if we're going to try to do these meetings on Tuesdays, and we're stuck with an hour and a half window, it's going to be tough to tack anything on after department head presentation.
Problem
So-
with shifting away from Tuesdays is conflicts with everything else that everybody's doing
Yeah.
on boards and commissions.
All right.
I think capital planning is, has it been 2 years that it's been just before the Board of Selectmen's meetings? It's been at least 2 years, I believe, if not more. It's worked out quite well for capital planning.
Probably more than that. It's been as long as I've been on the board, and before that, they're meeting like at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Right, I
Yeah,
remember
Those are the
that.
ridiculous
I always,
ones.
I always used to complain about that because, who in the public is available at 10:30 in the morning?
Yeah. So, all right, I guess, Heather, how do you want to schedule the department heads? Do you want to do that tonight, or you need your time to figure that out yourself? Or
I'll figure it out and send out the list to the committee.
are you going to plan to start those right on October 22nd, or you just want to have it all back from them so you can digest it for a while first?
I would say digest it first,
Okay.
and for at least a week, and then schedule a meeting.
All right. So we just need to pick a time between now and the 22nd to have this next meeting.
So what are we going to do with the old requests and the policy? We're going to do that in early October, and then the new stuff starting at the end of October, or we doing
Yeah,
something different?
I think that would be the way to go. So,
Okay.
Heather, do you have a date you can recommend, or looking at the calendar?
'13th would be the end of a long weekend, but it doesn't affect me, so it would work for me. 6th or 13th if we stay on Tuesdays.
13th is tough for me. I would probably be late. on
Yeah, I mean,
that.
it's the 6th or the 13th. I'm not sure which one it is yet, but I'm going to have to go to Virginia one of those weeks, usually on a Tuesday. So,
Potentially the 20th.
I could do the 20th.
yeah, it'd probably be a safer bet for me.
Okay.
Which day?
20th.
Okay.
At 5:30.
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay.
Yes.
Meeting October 20th at 5:30 to talk about our policies and also our recommendations for special town meeting. And we're going to hold off on board organization till then, or are we just going to wing it tonight?
As I said at the last meeting, I'm stretched pretty thin already. Being the clerk would definitely not work out for me. I'm willing to take vice chair, but again, my availability is going to be pretty tight.
I feel the same. I mean, I could not possibly be clerk if that incorporates doing the minutes, because I just don't have the time as a placeholder for vice chair, sir. I mean, I'm not called to action very often, but I just can't be the clerk here.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't know how I would do it either.
Well,
I don't know how good I would be at getting them out in any timely fashion.
well, I've been taking the notes so far, so I feel the same way, but
I'm also, can we, for our remaining member, can we get a commitment that they are committed to coming to the meetings? Because if not, and I fully am aware that people's schedules are crazy, but if it turns out that they can't, then we need to get another person.
mhm,
I don't want to be so harsh, but I'm sorry. Just like, I just don't have time for 4 people doing 5 people's job.
yeah.
And we didn't get any word that Tuesdays were a conflict, have we?
No.
I
Okay,
think we didn't get any word at all. That's
right.
part of the problem. Like communication is part of the problem.
Heather, could you reach out to the chair of planning or directly to the member, one or the other?
Well, I'll stay committed to taking the notes until we pick somebody. Do you want to at least pick vice chair in case I can't make it to a meeting? You have a backup?
Tom, you've got more experience running the Zoom meetings, so I'd defer to you if you'd like to take it.
It's fine with me. Either one of us would be fine.
Is that a nomination, Dave?
Sure,
Yes.
sure, I would do it. Yeah.
Is there a
I
second?
nominate Tom Alonso as vice chair.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thanks. All in favor, Tom,
The most tentative of eyes.
Dave,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
and I for myself. Okay, thank you, Tom.
My
Yes.
pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, so we have our meeting date set, action item set. Is there any other public comment before we adjourn? Or board comment? We don't have any public tonight. Okay, accept a motion to adjourn at 6:01.
So moved.
Second,
Okay.
Did we lose Damon?
we lost Damon here.
Yeah.
That was a very quick
All in
adjournment.
favor, Tom?
Oh, there he is. He's
Oh,
back.
still here. I mean, yeah, Tom, do you say yes? All in
Aye.
favor? Yep. Dave,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
and I for myself. Thank you, everybody.
We made it.
Thanks,
Good night.
everyone.
Night.
All right, bye.
Oh, Heather, should I? Oh.